Hey guys, Tomo here, Sunshine Coast Golf Centre. So today we're going to be talking about how to get the ball to stop. So there's been a few inquiries about being able to hit this golf ball from inside 100 metres, landing it on the green, keeping it on the green there. So the first part that we need to know is how much spin we should be generating at a specific distance. So I'm going to be using 4 different wedges to start off with, and we're going to be using our optimizer screen here. So for the members here, all you have to do is click optimizer on the bottom left there, grab your mouse. On the top right hand corner you'll see the 4 squares, click on optimizer. If you're not a member, you're more than welcome to come down and actually find out what those numbers actually are. So the distance that I'm going to be trying to swing this is about 55 metres. They're kind of that inside 100 metres, you come halfway there. So first club, I've got my 60 degree here. I'm going to hit one to 55 metres. A little bit chunky. So carried it 51 metres, optimal distance 52. Along the side here, the second one from the right hand side is the spin number. So this one here, it's calculated at 8,200 revs of spin there. Ultimately speaking, with this particular shot, we're looking for about 7,200 revs of spin, up to about 7,500 revs of spin. So that's with a lob wedge. So now I'm going to move on to my sand wedge, which is 54 degrees. So I have to change the club here on the top line there to 54 degrees is my wedge, and again I'm going to be aiming for about that 50-55 metre target as well. I'll try and keep them all the same. So again, 53 metre carry there. Based on this particular shot here, we're now expecting actually more spin. So I got 7,700 revs of spin. It's saying as a calculation we should be somewhere between 8,000 to 8,400 revs of spin at that particular distance there. Now I'm going to move on to my approach wedge. So it has about 50 degrees of loft there. So I'm going to change this to 50. Again, we're going to hit a shot about that 50 to 55 metre range. That one a little bit too fast, so let's have another go. There we go, 49. So this one here, my spin rate's now down to 5,800 revs of spin. Again, the blue, my ideal, it's saying about 6,400 revs of spin. So you can see the club choice, the size of the swing, the speed is going to have a big impact on your ability to create spin. The last club that we're going to do is my pitching wedge. Again, aiming at the same distance there. .52, pretty close again. So 5,200 revs of spin. Optimal sitting about 5,500 to 6,000 revs of spin there. So what you guys would have noticed that as I started to decrease the loft there, so I went from my lob wedge, I got 60 degrees, my pitching wedge got about 45 degrees of loft there, the ability to create spin disappears. Yeah, so this is probably the number one thing, is that speed is super important for our ability to create spin. Yep. From there, what are the things that actually create spin is this diagram here. So whatever the difference is between where the club face is pointing at the point of impact and how it's travelling in relation to the ground there will then ultimately create spin. So I don't have a red alignment stick, but I'm going to use an orange one to try and recreate this. So bottom line is, how's my club travelling in relation to the ground? So is it travelling aggressively to the ground, or is it travelling up towards the ground there? The top one is going to be my loft. So do I have 60 degrees of loft, or do I have 45 degrees of loft there? So you can start to see here, the wider I can make this alligator jaw there, the more spin that I can actually create. And the funny thing is, when it comes to my 54 degree, I was actually able to generate more spin with the 54 degree than I did with the 60. So naturally speaking, that if I don't have a lot of speed behind my shot there, I'm not going to be able to generate a lot of spin there either. So being able to then create that bit more speed, being more confident with the golf shot there, I can then actually start to generate more spin there. So you can have a massive alligator jaw here, but if I don't have a lot of speed behind it, it's not going to generate that spin, versus the opposite there. So again, have a bit of a play around with that. There are some variables outside of what we can actually control, so we can ultimately control the loft that we choose, and then how do we actually determine to move that golf club. The variables that we're going to see out on the golf course are the different firmness of the ground, so you're going to get a firm ground and a soft ground. So especially nowadays, we're getting a lot of rain at the moment, so we're not going to get a lot of that firm lie. It's going to be that wet lie. Wet lie is actually going to not going to help the golf club actually skip through. The ball's going to come out a little bit higher, softer, not going to generate any more spin. However, if we go to a firm lie, the ball's going to come out lower and then actually have more spin behind it as well. So lies can have a big impact on how that ball's going to spin. As you can start to imagine, just because a ball has more spin behind it, because it's coming out flatter and lower, it doesn't mean it's going to stop quicker. So if it was me, instead of trying to create more spin, I would be then trying to get this ball to launch higher, because again, the steeper this ball can then come into the green, the quicker it's going to stop. If a ball's coming in underneath this 45-degree angle here, it's going to have way too much forward bounce. It doesn't matter how much spin you're going to have on it, it's still going to have that massive forward bounce behind it. Yes, it will pull up in the second or third bounce, but a ball coming down like this, even if it had no spin behind it, it's going to want to stop a lot quicker than the one that comes in with a million revs of spin behind there. So hopefully that helps. The other variable, sorry, I forgot to mention, is out of the rough. As soon as we're in the rough there's elements between the golf ball and the club. We can't get that pure strike behind the club and the ball. That will also decrease the spin as well. And finally, very important to make sure that your grooves are nice and clean. So you've got the big grooves here, and then the modern day wedges, there are actually small grooves on the actual club face here. It's been proven that these small grooves on the club face can generate more spin than the big grooves. So make sure that your wedge quality is really good. If your wedges are, if you're playing every week, 52 rounds, 2 years, 100 rounds, you should be thinking about replacing those wedges, especially the ones that you use the most. So for me, it's the 60-degree. It's well and truly more used than the 54-degree wedge there. Hence, that one there has a higher chance of actually spinning more for me. But yeah, key takeaways: speed. Loft is going to help you stop the ball quicker, and then make sure that your grooves are nice and clean there as well. And then if you need to know exactly how much spin you should be generating, come in here. You've got the instant feedback there telling you exactly how much spin you should be generating. If you're in that window there, then you've got the other elements that you can add to it as well. All the best.